There we are. Welcome to another Games Talk Live. I am here finally, and I apologize for running late, guys. Man, that was nuts. Anyways, I feel like Gaz today on Game on Daily. Shout out to Game on Daily, by the way. Their last show was yesterday, and it sucks that they're gone. Saturdays won't be the same without them. Great podcast. And Hargeet, you were part of the Game on Daily team. Sad to see him go.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Asa and Gaz ran a great show. Lots of great back and forths. And I mean, I was, lucky enough to be on that show a few times, and I, such a good time with that show. Hopefully they get back together again soon, because they made great co-hosts. I like the yin and yang with those two. Very different.
Yeah, nothing precludes that. It's really unfortunate. Like, it basically, I don't know if anybody ever looked at GameOnDaily.com, but that website just drained them financially. So the loans came up, and they had to kind of close the company.
So there was a rumor, by the way. I'll have to put this on for that. So there was a rumor.
That's hilarious.
That Hargeet has been closing down shows. Every show he touches
RDX.
is slowly closing away. RDX.
No.
That show, Game on Daily. What was the other show? Oh, Zocker's show. The Zealots. Gaming Zealots.
Zealots.
And now, could it be GTL? We'll talk about
let's hope
this.
Not.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it was just so funny when somebody kept telling me that on Twitter. I'm like, bro, if you look at every show, it's been the choice of one man that those shows closed down. In the case of Game on Daily, it's a little different because it was a financial situation as well. So, I mean, it wasn't like people just quit the show. I mean, RDX, matter of fact, I would love to go back to doing RDX on Tuesdays. I miss it. I miss Dealer.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Lotus. I see you. Also, I see SteelOFX, Mason Gamer 64. Hello, how are you? Serve or survey, I'm not sure how you say that. The Game Adaptation Newscast. I like that. Zach Riley, thank you for being a member. Sappho, I see you. Biff Rinaldi, of course I see you. It's Timmy version 2.0. Good to see some good people in the chat, Hargeet. How have you been, man? How have you been? How's the book doing? I know the book is out there. If anybody hasn't picked it up yet, Hargeet has written a book, and it's in the descriction of this video.
You can see
it's up there as well.
And it's in my background. You can see the link if you want to go there and buy it. I don't know yet, because if people ordered the hardcover copy from Amazon, they haven't shipped it yet, and the hardcover copy until they ship it, I don't get a notice that somebody's bought it. So
for sure.
So I don't know how many have sold. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but we'll see. I know of 15 that have sold. That's it.
It's a start. But
there could be more. Exactly.
But I'm going to leave that link in the link of all my shows for you, Hargeet, because I want to see that book move. So let's do it, awesome. People. Let's do it. Let's do it for Hargeet, baby. Let's do it for Hargeet. Lotus Esprit with the 5 gifted members. Thank you very much. They are awesome. Lotus, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. Thank you. It's going to be a great show today. Got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. There's quite a bit of negative talk, but not really against Xbox this week. And that's it's a rarity these days. It always seems like there's something that Xbox is doing to themselves. But this time, Sony has really done something that has upset a lot of people. But let's start off with something positive, Hargeet. Let's start off with the Starfield updates that are coming May 15th. Some pretty big and awesome changes coming to the game. The update brings new graphics, better merchant UI, alternative scanning methods, customizable ship interiors, more with that anyway, and improved NPC AI. Players can now customize the interiors of the ship, adjust combat difficulty separately, carry more weight, and experience improved surface maps and quest fixes. So all quality of life stuff, better things to do within the game as well. If you're into that building and crafting aspect of it, being able to customize your ship, the interior anyway, is a big one. So I'm sure a lot of people are happy about that. But the biggest update is the performance modes. Hargeet, Bethesda recommends that the performance mode, when playing it at 60 and above anyway, because it'll be an unlocked frame rate. They're telling Xbox Series X users to make sure you have a 120 hertz VRR display, because without it, you're going to get a lot of screen tearing, and it's not going to be anything nice. So without that, I mean, that is the biggest caveat I see here is the VRR. What do you think?
I mean, that's kind of normal in a lot of games that try to push the envelope, right? It's not like this is new. We've seen a lot of games that hover in the 50s, sometimes even below that, and then come back to 60, right? VRR is just there to make it better. And yes, there are people who have TVs that do like high refresh rates and 4K and all that don't have VRR, but it's rare. So VRR is kind of there already. Just use it. So I don't know if it's that big a deal, but look, if it is a big deal for you, you can go back to 30.
Yeah, and if you don't have the VRR
I don't
display,
see it being a bad thing.
I wouldn't push that 60, because again, screen tearing is awful. Like that's one of the worst things you can get within a game. I know at times, even on PC, like I'll have to check my settings and stuff because VSync might not be enabled or something. I'll get some screen tearing, and I'm like, whoa, this is jarring. I don't like that stuff. It's nasty. So it's good for Starfield players. And in the future, they mentioned
on Xbox.
Yeah, well, true for now.
Because I mean,
we'll talk about
I think
that.
you played it on Xbox, right? You didn't have the PC then, because I played it on PC. So to me, it was already 120 frames.
I played it on Xbox. I did play it on PC. I
Yeah.
didn't have a PC by that time. But I will say this. Now, in the future, Bethesda is planning on bringing vehicles to the game. And my God, did that need to be in there day one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I did not like crossing over some of those barren planets to get to a certain point that I saw in the distance on foot. It wasn't that fun. But I think these surface vehicles, or at least one, is coming soon. I don't know when exactly. It won't be in this patch. It's going to be in another one in the future. But I would say sometime in the summer, I think that'll drop.
Yeah. And Shattered Spaces in the fall. So sometime between now and the fall, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's good.
Which isn't that far away. It's not that far away.
No.
Right? So
no, it's definitely not. And it's one of those quality of life features within game. It's a good thing. I don't think I'll be going back to Starfield myself, because like I said, I've already beaten it. I played a little bit of New Game Plus. But I might dabble in. I might go in just to see what it's like, on the Series X and stuff like that, just to check it out. I have the VRR display, so I might as well see how it runs, so I know, and I can talk about that here on the show. And I think that's.
I mean, it's cross progression, so you can install it on your PC.
Yeah. I did. I played a bit on my PC as well, but I want to see what it's like on the Series X, so I can talk a bit more about it too, because there's a lot of frauds out there that'll talk about a game that don't even try it on whatever platform they're talking about, and I'm like, dude,
there's that.
I don't know. I don't want to mention any names, but there's people out there that do that. Okay. I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to talk about it if I have not really tried it like that, Let's move on to something.
But so Shattered Space won't bring you back?
Oh, the DLC? Oh, it might. Yeah.
I'm excited for the DLC.
I'm just talking about
I'm hoping they do some
I'm not a big DLC fan, though. Typically, Hargeet, I don't usually buy DLC content. And it's not because I'm against it, because I have done it with a very few games. It's just that I feel when I play a single player game and I finish it, I feel like, okay, I'm done with it until there's like a part 2 or something. Like DLC is just a half step, and I feel slighted in a way. Like I feel like the developer intentionally held that back. And I don't want to feel that way, Because sometimes they do that sort of thing. I said do, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out to Colt Eastwood in the chat. He said,
Hey, Colt.
PlayStation done effed up. Colt, you were right. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But yeah, I think Shattered Space, I'll definitely give that a go. Especially by then, we should have the vehicle and everything. We should have some cool stuff going on in that game. So I might even play it on the Series X just to piss people off. And you know what I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that, Hargeet, is I get a lot of flack for playing on PC all the time. And people will be like telling me, oh, you're just a PC guy now. Just what do you care about consoles? I still care about the consoles. I like the consoles. I like both PlayStation and Xbox. I can't help it. I do. So I might do it just to tick those people off. I don't know. Biffernaldi, thank you. Member for 17 months says, I've been looking for a reason to play Starfield. Oh, you want to hear that? Starfield. Okay. It's with Starfield. You'll get 90 to 100 frames on PC. Yeah. Anyway, but he said, I love playing 60 on the Series X. Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's a good thing for people that are only on console. Look, one thing I will say about this, it's kind of a slap in the face, in a way, I'll say this, how the developers at Bethesda have said for so long they can't do it. Oh, this can't be done. This is why it's only 30. And now, months later, you're getting a 60 frames mode.
Well, to be fair, they didn't say it couldn't be done. They said it wasn't 60 all the time, right? That there were times when it would cut back, and they didn't want to give you an inconsistent performance or inconsistent gameplay. So they decided to just lock it at 30. They must have just worked on it. I mean, look, ultimately that just means that you have to, for those areas, do a little bit more tweaking to figure out where you need to, get the little bit of performance so that you can get it to stay more, stable. So they must have just done that, and maybe times it does dip a little bit. But if it dips to like 55,
no,
okay.
I
expect to 30. That's not good.
Well, here's the thing.
Right?
I expect it to dip quite a bit below 55, only because VRR is recommended. So I think there's going to be some heavy dips. However, as not 9 Lives, it's Ninja Squirrel 30. He said 4K, 40 FPS VRR is a sweet spot for them, and it might be. Honestly, I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to play at. For me, the 40 frame thing is not a really enticing thing. I've tried games at 40 frames, and it's okay. It's a little better than 30, but not much. Nothing to write home about. It's nothing like 60 and above. And there's also diminishing returns once you get past like 80 frames. Like, honestly, once I get into like the 100 frames, I don't feel the difference between 100 and 120. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's I don't know. It's very diminishing returns by that point.
Yeah, if you do the 40 and then triple it, right? If you do that like frame insertion, which may make it 120 frames, then it might be something cool, right? So I don't know if I think they're planning to do that, right? You can make it 120.
I don't know.
But either way, so if they are planning to do that, that's cool.
Hey, Colt's right.
Spider-Man does that.
Fallout 76 did have 16 times the detail. 16 times the detail. Remember that? Oh, man. But hey, you know what? Play the way you want. They're giving you more options, and that's a good thing at the end of the day. It's just that I don't like when Dealer was right about certain aspects. He would say this on RDX all the time when we had a game that was stuck at 30. He'd be like, it's just a matter of them needing more time, these developers, to come out with modes that are steady at 60. Just give them more time. And it seems that's the case, because we're seeing that a lot these days. Like, games will come out months later at 60. So
yeah, the one major area of concern is just UE5. When UE5 is utilized, we'll see if that gives us 60 or not.
And UE5, by the way, it is getting those updates, so it's becoming a bit more streamlined and stuff. It's getting better. It's not as taxing as it was.
Yeah.
So we'll see how how it works out. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Xbox showcase date. It's been made public, of course, that being June 9th, while the Summer Game Fest is on the 7th. And IGN Live will be that whole weekend, 3-day weekend, actually.
Yep.
And now this is the first time that IGN is doing this whole IGN Live. And they're going to have, like, from what I've read anyway, they're going to have live shows, tournaments, and first looks at games that we see, you know, at the Summer Game Fest or at the Xbox show and stuff like that. And that will be cool. And of course, Hargeet, you and I will be there.
Yes.
We will be there. So that's right. This is the first time I'm going to make my way down to LA for any of these festivities. And unfortunately, I won't be able to, I won't say I won't. I'm hoping I can win one of the tickets in the sweepstakes for the Fan Fest event or whatever. But they're only giving 100 away, opposed to like last time was like 500.
Yeah, it was much higher. Yeah. 400, 500, something like that.
So it sucks because, again, it's my first time going down there
on costs
for the festivities. But I did get tickets to all 3 days of IGN Live just to check out, you know, whenever I feel like it. Definitely got we both got the Summer Games Fest as well.
Game Fest. Yep.
I know you're going to the Giant Bomb thing. I am leaving that night, so I won't be attending that show.
Yep.
But
doing Giant Bombs. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet up with everybody. And it's going to be a blast. But that showcase for Xbox Sunday, I'm really hoping to be there because one of the things we've been teased about is Gears 6, the possibility of Gears 6 being shown at this show. And I think I'm ready for a new Gears, like really excited for a new Gears. I've always liked the franchise, but it's been a while, man. It's been a while since 5, and I want to see what they've done with UE5 with the game. And I think Coalition we've talked about this many times. I think they're going to be able to get that 60 frame target with UE5 and knock it out the park. I think they're the team to do it.
Yeah, I hope so. Right, they're definitely very versant with the Unreal Engine, so we'd hope they can do it. I'm not going to make it a requirement, but you know, if anybody, if I was going to give credit to anybody to be able to do it, right, it would be them. Like, you know, I don't know if it's whatever, but we'll see. You know, I'm hopeful. I'll just say that I'm hopeful that they'll do it, but we'll see. I've been very skeptical of UE5 until I see it. It's, you know, because you can certainly do it. You just turn off the new stuff, right? Make it, you know, lower the detail and whatnot, and make it happen. But if you want the new stuff, you want it to look good, right? You want it to look like HellBlade. That's when it becomes a challenge. Is it going to become, you know, 60 on a console? I don't know, right? And so we'll see. If anybody can do it, though, it is probably them, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
So hopefully they do that. And you're right. It has been a long time. 2019? 2019,
yeah,
right?
2019. And then we had Hive Busters, and that was okay.
Yeah,
I didn't have
just
a problem
DLC,
with that.
though.
It was just small.
But yeah, so it's been a while. They've had quite a bit of time to work out how to make UE5 hum. So that was what they wanted. That they wanted to just be able to like play with UE5 and figure it out. So hopefully they've got something for us, right? And if they do, and that's one of the marquee things. I mean, this showcase could be insane if they also bring out Halo.
Yep.
Right. If they bring out Halo, Gears, potentially Forza, Call of Duty, Overwatch, right? You get like all the freaking.
Oh yeah, they have Call of Duty. They have like Call of Duty has their own like event, right? Planned on this showcase. Yeah.
So, but then on top of that, it is due for something, right? So you just take like all the big, you know, massive first-person shooter, you know, development studios and like, and then IPs and say they're all Xbox. Have fun, right? Like, how do you and I guess third person for Gears, but how do you like, you know, how do you not feel excited about something like that, right? And Xbox, if they do it right, good God, right? And then on top of that, they say, oh, we're also, by the way, like the RPG house because we have Diablo expansion, Starfield expansion, Fallout 76 expansion, Elder Scrolls Online expansion. Oh, by the way, we have an Elder Scrolls coming. We have Fable. We have Avowed. But, you know, on and on. Outer Worlds 2. You can just keep going with the number of RPGs.
Did you hear how many genres you just named there that Xbox owns? Like, a lot of the games that they own now, they have a larger variety than say PlayStation
Oh, big
does.
time. From
Um,
Flight Sim to
but
Aura
our
to, you know.
co-panelist from RDX, D Batch, is out there saying that Sony has more variety, and I'm like, there's no way. Just in
More
ABK
variety of
alone,
Sad Dad
there's
walking simulators?
well, yeah, well, you get the over the shoulder, you know, and I love those games on PlayStation. Don't get me wrong, but when you look at the first party and even the money-hatted exclusives, even that with the Final Fantasies and stuff, it doesn't make up enough to be to get that crown of having the most variety of games. It
They
doesn't.
don't.
I
They just
think
don't.
Xbox has
No,
that hands
Nintendo
down.
goes all over the place. Nintendo's crazy with their variety,
Yeah,
but
they
yeah,
have a lot of
Xbox
variety too,
has a
but
lot of variety.
I just think when you look at Bethesda, you look at Activision, you look at Blizzard,
Yeah.
you already got the variety hat, you know, right there.
I mean, they
That's
have Double Fine, right? Is there an equivalent to Double Fine in PlayStation? I don't know one, right? So, like, where? What variety? Ninja Theory? Do they have a Ninja Theory? I don't know. Maybe that is the closest to
no,
their games, but
but
do
just
they? I mean, I don't know. Like In Exile, do they have an In Exile? Do they have a State of Decay? I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know. Do they have one of
Pragmatic
those? I
Eagle's
don't know.
right. PlayStation hasn't had more variety since PlayStation 2. He's right.
Yeah,
He's right
they
about
really
that.
killed all their variety. They basically have honed in on the Naughty Dog formula, and that's what everybody has to follow now.
Yeah.
So
Which, by
I
the
don't
way,
know.
I
I don't
love.
think they do.
Don't get it twisted. I love that formula. I love the the walking, the sad dad, what you would call a sad dad simulator. I love those games. But if we're going to speak facts, more variety goes to Xbox. They have a plethora of different genres over there
Yeah,
over
I mean,
PlayStation.
both of their competitors do crazy stuff. Both of their competitors do experiments, right?
I
Sony does not. They don't experiment. They like have outside companies. Maybe the money had something, but their studios. Anybody who does anything, they freaking shut it down.
yeah.
So the last one they did was Bend, and they killed that. Now Bend has thankfully another chance. They're gonna get to do something else.
Yeah, yeah.
But like
I'm
the
very
Japan studio's
interested in
gone.
what Ben Studios does because I really liked Days Gone a lot, and I
Yeah.
wish they were making a second, but they're never going to. But let's talk about this
Yeah, I don't know
showcase
where
here.
he gets the idea that there's more variety there. I
I,
mean, maybe he just doesn't see the other games.
I don't know. I think RDX has been gone too long. I think that's the problem.
Yeah,
I wish it was back
that's an odd
so
one.
we could talk more, every week about this stuff.
Yeah, we need to bring him back on this show.
Yeah, we definitely do. But this showcase, anything you're excited about? I'm excited about the potential for Gear 6. What's your excitement for the show? What are you hoping for?
Well, it's the game I don't know about, but I mean, the big excitement to me is, are they going to do what they should do? Right, their competitors have like left the year to them. So you have the opportunity to take what you just bought for $70 billion and bring the casuals back to Xbox, right? Xbox 360 did well because it was the casual box. It was the 360 with the Call of Duty Ascent, right? That happened during the 360 gen. They had Halo, they had Gears, they had Call of Duty, and that trifecta is what brought people to the Xbox, right? So they now own it. They own like all three of those. They can totally bring Call of Duty back as an Xbox brand and try to bring the casual player back. I hear this thing about like the library, the digital library thing. The vast majority of players buy only a handful of games, and they're Call of Duty, Madden, or FIFA. That's it. They don't buy anything else, and they don't care. They don't need anything else. Game Pass is irrelevant to them because guess what they're going to do? They're going to buy Call of Duty. That's all they're going to buy. So they don't need Game Pass. This is about marketing. It's about mindshare, and it's about bringing people to your platform, and that can happen with Call of Duty. And what I've been looking for is saying, hey, could you do it correctly and say we're going to on ramp the rest of the year? We're going to bring up Call of Duty 2, 3, 4, Black Ops, on and on, all the ones in the 360 gen, right? Because you can't bring them over to PS3. There's no choice. There's no backwards compatibility. But there is for 360. You can bring those back and say we're going to have June is Call of Duty 2, July 4th
Yeah.
weekend we're bringing Call of Duty 3 and 4 or whatever. You can just do that on ramp and bring them on, give them a couple of weeks, whatever, to breathe. And then at the end of the year, you bring in Gulf War and say this is now, the brand new next gen only Call of Duty. And the whole time you have the Series S available at 200, 250, whatever. Just make it as cheap as possible. Call of Duty box, bring it, right? Because again, most of those casuals, they're not counting pixels. They don't care. They are counting frames, and Call of Duty runs at 120 frames on the Series S. More than enough. That's it. That's what they need. Get the stupid
What-
box, play the game. That's what they need. And they have the opportunity to do this. They could totally kill it if they bring back that mind share. And Call of Duty fans say, we're back with a 360 gen. Here's all the games that you loved, all the nostalgia of Call of Duty, the best Call of Duty era, right? Let's just bring it back. Bring people over, bring that mind share over, and bring people back to the Xbox ecosystem and start increasing their console sales. This is what they need to kind of do. They have it. They have it in their hand. They just have to do it. They have to execute. That's what I'm looking for. Much more than
Yeah.
anything else. Because all the other games, I love it. That's great. I'll be happy to see 50 other games. But the thing that's going to drive the ecosystem, it's Call of Duty.
Well, Call of Duty is what really drives a lot of people to move to next gen also. And that's one of the, topics we were going to get into about,
Yep.
How these consoles have stagnated. And AMD has stated that this year, well, actually year over year, it's been going down, but this year at the start, it's been really low for both PlayStation and Xbox. So
If I remember right, it's 48% down, and then they're looking at even worse for the rest of the year. So
yeah, and we've
it's
talked
a
about
massive
this.
decline.
We've
Yeah.
talked about this, but I didn't know it was as bad as it was because AMD is even talking about it. But at the end of the day, again, as I said last week, I attribute this to not enough compelling games for next gen, and also those CODs aren't moving over yet. When do you think that the first COD will be that's just next gen only? I mean, do you think this
I'm
next
hoping
one?
it's this one. I hope it's this one.
I kind of hope so too, because this is what's going to pull people away from last gen.
Yep.
If COD is no longer cross gen, they're going to jump ship and come over. And who are they going to choose? Xbox or PlayStation? It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one, right?
Marketing, right?
Game Pass, you got Game Pass, and then you got $70 game, right?
I don't think that's going to matter. I think most of those people are just going to buy the game. It's like we would take advantage of the fact that it's in Game Pass, right? Because we're already Game Pass subscribers.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's the majority of those casual players, since they only buy that $170 game, they're just going to pay the $70, right? Because Game Pass would be more expensive to them, right? So, and if they don't play, and I know some players like this, nothing else matters to them. The only game they play is that. That's it. That's it. All they ever play. If they're playing, it's Call of Duty. So for them, the rest of Game Pass is 100% irrelevant. They don't care. None of that matters to them, right? They're just going to play Call of Duty. It's like, well, if that's your player, that's what they're going to buy. And that doesn't matter. It's just the marketing is what matters, right? When that marketing shifted, even the first year of Xbox One was doing fine. It was when the marketing shifted that suddenly PlayStation 4 took off and Xbox One kind of stagnated. And there's a reason for it. It's just simple. Like first, PlayStation did all these content exclusive things. So did Xbox 360. Let's just be fair, right? So all these content exclusivity things happened on the PlayStation side, but they were like assholes about it. Like you can have this a year later, but there's a new COD. What am I gonna do with it a year later? What's the point of it? Right. So they basically locked the game to have its the best version be on PlayStation only. Right. That was what they did. Now it'll be level, but it doesn't matter. The marketing is gonna be Xbox. So I think it will make a difference. I hope it really does shift. And look, PlayStation has been like touting the the potential failure for them, right? Because they use the money from Call of Duty to fund their games, and they're like, "This is going to dry up for us. That's a big deal for us. We can't sustain ourselves without it, right?" And again, don't take my word for it. Listen to Jim Ryan; he's the one who said all that, right? So maybe it is a big deal, right? We'll see. If it shifts a lot, that is a big deal for both Xbox and PlayStation, and we'll see how the market, moves beyond that, right? What happens?
Yeah.
How does this affect PlayStation in the future? How does it affect Xbox in the future?
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I agree. If this is the first next gen one, it's gonna shift the market.
Yeah,
People are gonna go buy it. They're gonna buy it.
I think so. And Pragmatic, you're right. I see you in the chat, Eagle. He said most gamers want a console already have one. People are choosing groceries over. Yeah, inflation is
That
definitely
is another big thing.
a big
Yes.
thing. Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. Because I mean, every industry is down in terms of sales. Even like car sales are horrible right now because, people can't
Yeah.
afford a new car. I mean, let's face it, even
Yep.
used cars. But
Inflation is bad here. It's worse everywhere else.
yeah,
And,
it's
and like I think the estimate was it's an extra $1,000 to live every month in the US, extra $1,000 a month for just general
yeah,
normal
I know.
life.
I'm tired of it, bro.
Um,
Every time I go to the
it's
grocery
ridiculous.
store, I'm like, I walk out
It's
with
so
much less
expensive.
than I did 3 years ago.
It's so expensive. And I'm noticing it by, like even if you order out, right? You get like your portions and you're like, this is like 2/3 of what I used to get.
Oh
What
yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
going
They're
on?
giving smaller portions,
Like
smaller portions for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. I heard they're doing the same thing in some boxes of like food and stuff that you buy at the grocery store. People are actually weighing the items, the food, and it's not even coming out to what the box or the jar says. Like it's crazy what some of these companies
Yeah.
are doing. But
Yeah,
that's
everybody's
the
got to cut corners to just try to stay alive, right?
speaking
It's
of cutting
crazy.
corners. I mean, with this showcase, FanFest, it's not even going to be there.
Same thing, right?
Same thing,
Now,
cutting
like,
corners, no FanFest.
yep. To be
So
fair, I guess they did have to take 2 billion in hit, right, for integration costs.
yeah,
There may be more coming, by the way. There might be another big hit over the next quarter. And I get it, 15,000 employees. It's a big $70 billion acquisition. Obviously, it's going to take some money to make that integration work, right? To get them integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem, right? Fine, fair enough,
yeah, you got to
right?
spend
But
money,
that's hitting yeah, but that's hitting not the corporate budget, it's hitting the Xbox budget. So their profits have dwindled to near nothing because, well, they had to take this hit as an OpEx, and unfortunately, that means they don't have a lot. Now, this part to me seems kind of useless, right? Because yes, to be fair, that division should make money. But to also be fair, Satya Nadella said, "I'm plopping down $70 billion to go buy this thing for Microsoft." And then I'm going to put the headache on the division that's trying to run their own stuff and say that they have to handle the integration costs when you have hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank. It's like, come on. This is penny wise, pound foolish stupidity. Like, there's no reason for this, but this is just the way it is, right? This is internal accounting stupidity that I think should just be handled by saying, we decided as a company to buy this. This wasn't Phil deciding to buy this alone. We as a company decided to spend $70 billion.
of
We're
course it
going to
was.
take the overall hit and make
Yep.
sure that it works as Microsoft. It's all funny money. It's all stupid, right? They literally have hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank, right? So there's nothing stopping them from saying, we'll take that hit at a corporate level instead of it taking that hit at an Xbox level. But they're going to take the hit at the Xbox level. Okay, fine, fair enough, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's why I think this fan fest is just not going to be that big because they're like, well, we don't have the budget for it.
Yeah, no.
And
I mean, I was told by an exec that,
it's like,
all they're doing is the event, the showcase, and the
yeah,
FanFest tickets that you win are for the event, and that's it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so Jez Cordon of Windows Central fame kind of came out
Mhm.
this week, or actually he said it in his private Discord to some people that got put out there. He apparently was talking and got a lot of Xbox folks riled up, apparently stating that all Xbox games are going to eventually move to PlayStation, including their biggest games like Forza, Halo, Gears. This has caused a lot of chaos amongst the community, Hargeet. Jez kind of walked it back by saying, hey, it was just an opinion. But did you see the outcry? Did you see what happened? The fallout, if you will?
So WCCF Tech wrote an article based on it, right? And that kind of made it. So there's one thing for somebody to say something on one of these podcasts like us, right? We can say
Mhm.
something, right? But are we substantiating anything? Are we journalists? No. Now, Jez is a journalist, but he also just happens to talk, and he's talking in
And he's
podcasts,
got
talking to,
his own opinions. Yeah.
and he has opinions. This is
Yeah.
fair enough, right?
Yeah.
And
Same as me.
unless he writes it down and says, "I have this on authority, therefore I'm writing an article as a journalist. Here's what's happening." Right?
Yeah.
He's not being a journalist at that point. He's not telling you as a journalist this is what's happening. Right now, WCCF Tech, took it as no. He's saying this as a journalist. And it's like the first part of journalism is you validate from your primary source what they said. Did they call him? No. Did they DM him? No. Did they do any of this? Is just my critique of journalism in general. Journalism has become about clickbait instead of being about journalism, instead of being thorough, instead of being an actual, a reliable source of news. They don't care about reliability. They just care about putting something out there so that people will click on their stupid article, right? And because of that, it then blew up. And fair enough, right? Because WCCF Tech should be considered a normal journalistic thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then you take it as like, oh, this is real. Oh my God, it's gonna happen. It's like, well, you could have easily fixed this by just calling. Just call the person or DM the person.
But Jez is kind of a prominent figure within the community.
It doesn't matter.
And among journalists and everything. He's in this gaming industry. He's very well known. And so if he says anything, even if it's just an opinion, they're going to put it out there. It's going to be put out there.
Well, I mean, but other people who are journalists have opinions, right? It could be pick any one of them.
Oh yeah,
Anderson
and
Cooper,
they get ridiculed
I think,
sometimes.
this is kind of annoying. Does that mean it's policy? Does that mean it's real? No, it's just his opinion.
No. Nobody's really arguing that. And some of these articles that have come out don't really necessarily state that's the official word. They're just saying, hey, this is what Jez Cordon is saying. So I get that. But I also get the fact that, Jez Cordon is somebody who's well known. And if he says something, it carries some weight and people are going to say stuff. I mean, that's one of the number one reasons people tune into the Xbox 2 podcast is for Jez Cordon to possibly talk about stuff like this.
Rumors, right? Again, not, what he says isn't exactly fact. He's saying rumors, right? And fair enough. And a lot of times they tend to be, there's a bit of truth to whatever he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll say that there's part of this is on Jez to be clearer whenever something is being put out that this is just my speculation. This is just my opinion. It is not based on anything I'm actually privy to. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, but you know how like sometimes if we're in a Discord or we're in a chat, we're talking. We're not really sitting there going,
exactly.
We don't preface things by saying, guys, this is just my opinion, but blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we just talk and we go, well, I think this is going to happen. And yeah.
But he had some tweets out there too. And one of the tweets he ended up deleting, right? But I agree. If we're just talking in general, be like, well, this is probably what's going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then you don't like preface it, but that's fair. But yeah, that's exactly why you should just check. When you're a journalist, you should just check with the primary source. What were you saying? We're going to write this article. What do you think? Right.
I get
are
that
you okay
too.
with it?
I get that too. I 100% get that. By the way, I spoke with Jez just the other day in a DM, and I, looking forward to meeting him also in LA.
He'll be there.
So that's going to be fun. Dante, I see you, brother. Spriggan113, Dante Moody, folks, says, shout out to the GTL crew. Looking forward to the showcase in June. Of course, me too. I believe we'll be staying at the same hotel as well. So I will definitely meet up with you, Dante. Can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so many people are going. And it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, man, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. All right. So let's get into some PlayStation stuff, guys. Sorry, but it has to turn kind of sour here. But this is a big one. This is a really big one, in my opinion. Arrowhead Studios, of course, those that made HellDivers 2, they've been having a bad few days, guys. Now they've implemented a mandatory sign-up for a PlayStation Network account for HellDivers 2. And I understand that this was all supposed to be their day one. Okay, originally, they were going to do this from day one. And it's been in some descriptions of when you buy the game, there's like literature, there's stuff written saying that this was the case, but it's always in that, small print on the side. A lot of us don't really read that stuff. So, you could say shame on me for buying the game without reading that and knowing, hey, it's going to require a PSN account later. I never thought of that. I bought it on Steam and I just played the game. I never had to link an account. I had people telling me I was lying. So I never linked a PSN account. I never signed up for a PSN account when I started HellBlade 2. It never popped up and said, hey, in the future, this is going to, HellDivers. Sorry, not HellBlade. HellDivers 2. It never popped up and said, hey, you're going to need a PlayStation account. So I was playing the whole time, clueless. So I was blindsided by this. And apparently many other PC gamers were blindsided by this because they review bombed the hell out of this game. And, you know, in thinking about, you know, shame on me for not reading that and shame on everybody else for not reading that too. You can point those fingers. But here's the thing that really sucks. It's those that are in countries that can't have a PlayStation account. And I just found out last night, Hargeet, that they are going to stop the game from being sold in all these countries and also effectively remove these games from these gamers' hands. They're no longer going to be able to play the game. They're going to offer refunds. That's Steam's on Steam. Good looking out. You know, Steam is offering refunds. But the fact that you got all these places, these countries that you knew damn well couldn't have a PlayStation Network account, but you let them buy the game there, get addicted to the game, play the game, love the game, fall in love with it, and then take it away from them months later. That's a dick move. And I'm sorry. I don't care for that kind of shady business. That pissed me off. And for people out there, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter, there's a lot of PlayStation guys saying, oh, who cares about them? They're PC players anyway. It's like, you know what? Some of us PC players care about the console gamers too. So, I mean, you got to understand, a gamer's a gamer. And it seems like Sony is choosing to make their investors happy by requiring this PSN account and padding their numbers on PSN, because that's what essentially they're doing. And instead of letting the gamers just play the damn game, they just want to pad these numbers. And I know what you're saying. Well, if they're taking them away from 100 plus countries, aren't they going to lose players? Yes, they'll lose a lot, but they're still gaining so much more by requiring all PC players in the countries that do have PSN accounts to sign up for it. I don't know, Hargeet. What's your feelings, man?
Look, if you're going to do this, then it had to have been there from the beginning, and you don't sell in those countries where it's not available, right? You created an install base. I don't know how many copies were sold outside, you know, the countries that PSN is in, to allow those players to play the game, buy the game. So that's just a bad look. Like, what is the applicability of this going forward? Are players in those countries going to say, I will trust PlayStation when they put out the next game, the next game of the next game?
Facts.
Right? Like, it's a terrible look. You know, as a seller of a product, you know, once you have customers, you kind of owe them something, right? You can't just take stuff away from them. And this is an interesting place where would this be considered something they could be sued for, right? The chances are yes, right? Because you sold a bill of goods that essentially failed them, right? And in those countries, if they decide that's a class action lawsuit because you decided to take away what we bought, willy-nilly, like 6 months later, what is it, 3 months later, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. About 3 months.
You know, that's a big deal. And I don't like it seems like a trivial thing to just say, oh no, you got to sign into this thing. Yeah, but you're cutting out like 2/3 of your install base of players from countries all around the world. And you know, if some of those countries happen to be in like the EU or something like that, you're going to get really screwed because the EU will say it's an EU block issue.
Yeah.
Right. And you do not want to have EU come after you. Like, that's just a bad idea. So let's hope they don't have that problem, but they might. There might be some EU block countries that don't have PSN. Then what do you do? Like, how do you like these are the kind of stupid things that they run into. And like, I just don't know why they need to do this. It's yes, okay, you want to pad some number here, but you've got this is your first freaking multiplayer success story. Why do you want to muck with it? Just let it go. Let it be successful. The worst part is Arrowhead has to take the brunt of it because they're going to lose all their sales.
And you make some investors unhappy. But guess what? Your game is being bought. That should make your investors happy. You know what the other part of this too is? And a lot of people don't realize this because many companies do this. But one of the things that they want to do this for is to sell your data to advertisers. That is one of the things they do with this stuff. And it's like, this is just a greedy move all the way around. All the way around for Sony.
It's a stupid move.
It's a stupid move. It really is stupid.
I don't see the value in this.
I don't either.
If you were going to do it, you do it ahead of time. Not only did you like create a rift with your customers, you create a rift with Steam, who's now taking the brunt of it and saying, okay, we're going to pay back to those customers that you screwed. What does that look like from your relationship with Steam going forward? Do you think they're going to trust you?
And do you know what's funny?
This is the same thing that's going to happen to them with the next game they put out. Like, why should we trust that you? So we're not going to sell your game in any other country then, because you could pull this shit anytime, right? And why should they take the hit?
Yeah.
So I mean, good on Steam to do this, but really, that's just not their fault.
Here's the but the ironic part is they're doing it to try to make their investor. That's one of the reasons make their investors happy. But it's totally backfired. It's pissing. It's going to piss them off now because they're losing a lot of those sales now. People are going to be getting refunds. And I've been looking out at all the various forums where the PC gamers reside, and these PC gamers are pissed, and people are refunding the game on PC that aren't in these countries that it's being taken away. They're just pissed off. So mad at this. And the PC gamers, I'll tell you one thing. You piss off PC gamers, they're more inclined to stick to their guns about things than I would say console gamers when it comes to this stuff.
Especially PlayStation console gamers who will not like fight back. Like, you're telling me people are saying,
true,
who cares?
True.
I wouldn't say that about Xbox. I would, like, if Xbox pulled this shit, I would be all over.
Some people,
like,
to be fair, Hargeet, I've seen Xbox fanboys also defend some pretty shitty things.
There'd be people like us saying, no way.
Like, there are a lot of us that do that.
Stupid.
So right now, the concurrent players, and I've seen this pretty much steady the last few days, under 100,000 now for HellDivers 2 on Steam. They're not even in the top 10 because of what's going on. So how the mighty have fallen, where they've had like 500,000 concurrent players and stuff at one point. Now they're down below 100,000 concurrent players, and just wait till the 6th come, because I believe it's May 6th, tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is when they implement this PSN account thing.
I thought it was June. Was it not June?
Or June 6th. June 6th.
June. I think it's
June 6th, maybe. I know it's the 6th of 1 month. Damn, I'm old. Anyways, but when they do implement this, it's going to get even worse, because there's going to be people like, my brother has no idea about what's going on with HellDivers right now, and he's just a PC player only, and he's just playing this game, and he's loving it, and I'm not even saying anything to him because I know he's going to blow a gasket when he does get that PSN make an account thing. He's going to get pissed because he has no PlayStation. He doesn't want anything to do with these consoles. He's just a PC gamer, and he's not going to make an account for this. He's not. He's going to get pissed. He's going to blow a gasket. And I'm just waiting for that to happen. And I know you guys out there are like, why are you going to let your brother do that? You know why? Because it's fun. Brothers do that to each other sometimes. We do. It's not terrible. I just want to see him blow a gasket. Pragmatic Eagle with the 5 says this whole HellDivers thing is making the timing of that Helljumpers thingy sound genius. Just saying. Yeah. Shout out to Fonz and Hargeet. Shout out to you, man. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Seriously, Pragmatic is one of the few guys, or not few guys, one of the guys I really like reading his insight and everything within chats. He's always got something really insightful to say. Always. Yeah. I think he's a great member of this community. Good guy. Great guy.
But yeah, like, Arrowhead did not deserve this. Unfortunately, they kind of had to take a brunt of it, but so did Steam. And like, this is just an all-around bad look for PlayStation, but we'll see where this goes, right? I don't know if Steam will be more stringent with PlayStation in the future to say, well, what do you plan to do here? Because we don't want to run into this again. Sucker Punch, Ghost of Tsushima, right? I think it's Sucker Punch, right? It came out with a statement saying that Ghost of Tsushima will not require this unless you play online, I think, something like that.
Well,
So
Sony changed their language entirely because their terms of
yeah,
service and everything used to say that it was optional, and now it's
yeah,
saying that some games are mandatory because of this. They
yeah,
changed their
which
language.
basically means they're all mandatory, and therefore you might as well just assume you can't buy these games in all those
Yeah.
other countries.
And that's
Which
fine. I know a
again,
lot of
stupid.
people are out there are saying things like, well, what's the big deal? You sign up for Ubisoft, you sign up for EA, you sign up for all these things, for to play
Well,
their games. But the difference here is you were way upfront about it. It was in your face. Like anytime I buy a Ubisoft game, as soon as I go to hit play, it'll tell me, hey, sign up. This never done that. If it did, maybe some people would, have that choice. And do I really want to
yeah.
purchase this game? Or I just purchased it, but I haven't played the 2 hours. I'll just refund it because I don't want anything to do with a PSN account. See, they
So
took people's money. They did this purposely, man. I
yeah,
don't believe that it was just because their thing was, because they were having a lot of server issues and everything. No, I think they got people hooked on the game. They got them that over 2 hour mark. They got people to buy it because they know some people ain't going to make it a PSN account for their games. They
yeah.
know some PC players.
Well,
won't
some
do that.
can't, right? And so, like,
That
for
too.
those who think it's not a big deal, consider what do players in those countries get to do, right? So if you're a PlayStation player, or to be fair, even an Xbox is in like 40, 50 countries, something like that, right?
Yeah.
What do? Steam offers you a legal opportunity to buy the game, right? Well, the others don't. So what do? And this is why piracy is so big in all those other countries. It's like you just don't even offer an option. You're not offering an option.
Yeah.
So what's their answer? Is piracy, right? So if you want to not have that problem, then bloody well give them an option to buy the game. And if you're going to take it away, then expect more what? Piracy. That's what's going to happen, right? This is a stupid thing that's created by blind ignorance that the world only lives in Europe and the US. It does not. The majority of the people in the world don't live there. They're in Africa and Asia. If you want those countries to start buying your stuff, treat them like human beings and give them the opportunity to actually commercially engage with you. When you do, and then you do this kind of shit, why do you think they're going to ever buy anything from you legally? They're not. They're going to just pirate your shit because this is how you treat them. Like they're useless. And well, I'm sorry, but then I have to agree with them.
Yeah, and the HellDivers development team, there's been a lot of apologizing lately because they've been pretty much mocking some of this stuff going on, which is ridiculous. Like, why would you want to do this? Colt Eastwood in the chat, he just said that the CEO of Arrowhead just said, "What's next? Review bombing Magicka and Gauntlet as well? Other PlayStation titles? Question mark. Like, this is different, man. You're coming after the fact after you freaking sold it to people that couldn't make a PSN account to begin with. It's ridiculous." And then I saw another one. I think it was from the community manager at HellDivers. They said, "Well, we always knew this day was going to get here, and it's about what I expected was going to happen." And he put a little crying, laughing emoji. And he said, "I'm actually happy for us to be able to take action against player reports and make the game safer across the board personally." What a ridiculous statement. What a stupid statement, especially when PSN has done nothing to fix their security in how many years? They've had how many security breaches in the past decade?
They've had
big ones, major ones. They've had a handful.
Yeah.
It's
look, I think they're looking at more like chat and whatever, right? That kind of safety. But that mechanism exists in Steam. So if you wanted to take advantage of that, you're welcome to use Steam to do the same bloody thing.
Well, that's what they're worried about.
That's what everybody puts games on Steam. What was that?
They're worried about that. PC players don't want PlayStation to be able to ban them.
Exactly.
Because what you don't understand too is if you get banned in HellDivers 2 from PlayStation, guess what? You're banned from PlayStation Network all across the board. All across the board. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I wouldn't want any part of that either. I understand why they're pissed off. If I could, I'd refund myself. I'd refund myself.
Yeah, there's a lot of oddities with these kind of things, right? Digital rights. Where do you if you get banned, are you just allowed to play everything? And if that's the case, if you've sunk thousands of dollars in games, are they just gone? Is that it? That's the end?
Yeah.
Like, these are problems that you have to resolve, right? So, I don't know if it'll ever get resolved, but somebody at a government level needs to come in and say, Yeah, you really can't do that. If somebody sunk that much money into it, that property does belong to them in some way. So, but this is a
Yeah.
whole other discussion.
Yeah. What
But
happened if you get you players in these countries that have bought those microtransactions and stuff?
yeah,
They lose
it's a
money. It's just
major headache.
lost. It's lost.
You
They're
know?
not refunding that.
So, but yeah,
Jesus. Whew. I didn't even
either
think
way,
about
like,
that.
it's just a bad look, to do this for your first big multiplayer, game that you're putting out there. I don't know, like, fine, like, whatever, they're gonna learn their lessons. I really hope they just decide to just about face this and say, "All right, we're not gonna do this," and let it go.
Sounds
Right?
like they're
Because if you
not
do it from
though.
the get-go, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, they probably aren't, but if you do it from the get-go, at least you know, right? And
Yeah.
and if you try to play the game you can't, fine, okay, but, in this case, you let people play for months, and then you now turn about and say, "No, sorry, we're gonna just take it away from you." Like,
Bro, if I
just
loved the
that
game and they took it away from me after 3 months, I'd be so livid. So livid.
yeah, yeah.
It already
But,
pisses me off.
you
You
know?
know what? Like even to my core. And people could say, "Oh, you're just freaking saying that or whatever." No, it pisses me off knowing that they're taking a game away from people that
Yeah,
bought it.
it's stupid.
I don't know how people don't have empathy these days. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm too empathetic sometimes, but I do
Maybe it's
feel
just
bad for
more
people.
console worry, like, some people get too attached to these brands, and it's like, dude, they're companies,
Yeah,
and we
they're
need to treat
companies
them
and they
like
do some
companies.
shit things sometimes, you
And
know?
when they do something bad, we need to tell them, "No,
Yep.
you can't do that."
Company's gonna
It's just the way
company,
it is.
man. We gotta make sure
Exactly.
we keep them honest, as honest as possible because, bro.
Plus, you said something about, like, PlayStation players are saying, "Well, they're just PC players." It doesn't matter, like, players are players. We should treat all of them like, they matter. They're all part of the gaming community. I don't care if
Facts.
you're playing on a mobile phone and playing Candy Crush. You're a gamer, and if your gaming needs aren't being met correctly, we should be annoyed by that. We should try to fix it. It doesn't matter where you're playing. Enjoy games. Like, we should be all a community of gamers. It doesn't matter if it's PC or PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo or whatever, right? Or mobile. Fine. We should be happy playing wherever, and if somebody's screwing somebody over, we should all be pissed off about that. It's not a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, for sure.
So,
It's not all bad at PlayStation. Right now, I don't know if you heard this, Hargeet, but Housemark and Dark Horse Comics are coming together to put out a Returnal coloring book. And don't worry, PlayStation fans, it's paint by numbers, so you won't be too confused. So, um, yeah, they've got a Dark Horse Housemark. It's actually a comic book. All right. Um, yeah, but I don't know why people like why they're doing this, but okay, if you're into this, like I think it's a digital comic book as well
I
for
think so,
Returnal.
yeah.
I
But there's, like, 3 pieces, right? There's, like,
uh,
a book, a
yeah,
digital like, a graphic novel, and something else. I can't remember what the 3rd one was, but
yeah, I don't know. I just think it's really I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to actually get that or purchase it or whatever. It's weird. Um, Square Enix though, they're going through it right now. They've lost $2 billion in its value since they launched Final Fantasy 16 a couple years back, or yeah, I think it was a couple years back. They've dropped 66% in revenue. That's pretty big. So even
yeah.
Rebirth, Final Fantasy Rebirth, has not helped them at all. So they haven't recovered
Yeah.
from this. What do you
Yeah,
think
and
is
then,
going to happen from
Octopath Traveler didn't sell that well, right? Octopath
No,
Traveler 2.
no? What do you think is going to
Um
happen to Square Enix?
Well, look, their previous CEO went down a certain path and did the exclusivity thing. Um, let's also look at it from the Xbox platform. They did way back Tomb Raider as an exclusive 1 year deal with Xbox.
Yeah,
And then Octopath Traveler 1 was a Nintendo exclusive. So they've done this exclusivity thing all over the place. and it hasn't really worked out for them, right? Even that Tomb Raider that was exclusive did not sell as well as it could have. So you know, it probably hurt them all the way through all of those decisions. The new CEO came in and he's like, "Yeah, we kind of play like we're a third party, and we have to actually put games everywhere." And so the vision going forward, now all the contracts that are in place have to be worked out, right? They're already, if there are any exclusive contracts, they still have to go through those. But going forward, they're just gonna go, put games everywhere, which is the right path, right? Instead of just like locking them down, they're also gonna have to look at their portfolio and say, what are we making, and are those games resonating? Final Fantasy seems to have not. I guess it seems to be declining in its resonance with its core audience, and they made some specific decisions to switch the way the game works. It used to be a turn-based, game, and it's no longer that. So I don't know if that's pushed people away, but it does seem like it's declining in its popularity. That's something they have to resolve, right? Do they just say we're done with that, that series? Reboot it in some way, do something different. I don't know. The remake for Final Fantasy VII is taking an eternity because they're making it into 3 parts. They can't sustain that either. And if it doesn't sell as well, then it's not worth doing. So they need to come up with something. And I don't know what series is going to really, stick with them as a large one. They thankfully have FF14, which keeps working for them as
I
moneymaker.
I think
But
Final Fantasy is still their big one. It's just, and I saw somebody earlier saying
well,
what
Dragon Quest is kind of bigger in
was
some ways,
Rebirth
and
was Rebirth supposed to, like, fix all their failures? Of course not. But you would think that Final Fantasy, this remake series of one of the biggest franchises in all of gaming anyway, you would think that it would do more numbers than it has, even despite not being on last gen hardware. You would still think that more would have attached themselves to this franchise, especially to the Final Fantasy VII remake, but it
yeah,
hasn't. um I personally will buy it myself, but I'm waiting for the PC version because I think that'll come
yeah,
sooner than later because they only have a 3-month exclusivity for console. So after that's up, which I think it's this month, end of this month, May 29th is when that is up. I think we'll start to hear
yeah.
rumors about the PC version being
Probably
in
this
the
fall,
works.
right, is when
Yeah,
it'll come out. I'm guessing for
probably.
PC, which would be great, because I'm also only playing it on PC. So I did pick up the first installment on sale on one of the many PC stores. So I picked that up. But yeah, I hope it picks up for them, but like they're just not selling to the level of, Final Fantasy 15 sold over 10 million, 15 million, something like that copies. They're not at that
Yeah.
level anymore, and that's kind of their problem. So
And it's not to say that Rebirth is a bad game. It doesn't look like it at all. It looks really good to me, from what I've seen.
yeah, no, it's
But
critically pretty good.
honest, and
Critically, it's in
even
the in
16 was,
the high 80s, 90s
yeah, I
with
think it was,
something like that, right?
yeah, and I think so was 16. However, I didn't care for 16. I know a lot of people are with me on that.
Liked it a
16
lot.
was not that good.
Yeah,
Just, I don't know. I did not care for it. But I am looking forward to the
but
Final
look,
Fantasy 7 remakes, for sure.
I mean, I hope that this kind of turns around for them. They need a win. They've had like Forspoken failed,
Well,
and
they
that
made a
studio
lot
shut
of
down.
crap, before that.
Yeah,
Like,
FF16 failed, and
Forspoken
I
was
mean, maybe
so
it did
bad.
okay.
Like, that wasn't a mediocre game objectively. Like, you can like it
Yeah,
out there, but objectively, and what I mean by that is the majority of gamers have spoken and said that game not good. So
yeah,
objectively, it's not good. Then you have other games. The whole Avengers thing that they did a few years back just totally crashed and burned. And I know they
yeah,
probably spent a good penny on that franchise.
yeah.
So they did not see the return on that, for sure. And of course, I mean, Square, they're used to saying that their games never meet expectation anyway. We always hear that from them. Even when the games sell well, they're like, it didn't meet expectation. What are you expecting? Like sometimes they've got this idea of expecting a lot more
So they
than the
also
game
did
deserves.
Outriders, right? With
Yeah, and that was kind of a problem,
Game
but
Pass.
I had fun with that game because it was in Game Pass. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun to me. It had a lot
And
of
they
issues though
liked
at the
the
start.
performance of Game Pass. They liked putting it in Game Pass.
Yeah, well,
They actually did say that, right? So the development studio didn't see anything substantial. So People Can Fly, I think that's the name of it. But anyway,
yeah.
so
I think
but they're working on an Xbox game, by the way, right? So that studio is working on an Xbox game. But anyway,
unfortunately, PlayStation has kind of money-hatted Final Fantasy completely away from Xbox. Like we're not going to see any of those remakes. I don't think on Xbox.
eventually you will, but it'll be a while until the third one's
Yeah, it's
done.
already been how long, and we haven't seen the first. Remember that was supposed to be released shortly after the PlayStation version when that had dropped, and it never did. So I don't
Yeah.
expect it. I really don't. I think they're going to continue to try to keep that off Xbox. It's whatever. They can deal with the poor sales, because obviously it's not selling. So that's on them. Hargeet, you got anything else this week? What else we got this week? I think there was another one you mentioned to me, but Sony and Paramount. Yeah, I think it was that.
Bought, right? There's Sea of Thieves has pretty good ratings on PlayStation.
Oh yeah, what's up with the ratings for Sea of Thieves?
Yeah, so
69 on Xbox when it dropped, and I know it's been a long time. It's not a completely different game, but there's a lot more to it added to the game. I get it, but even back then, if you talk to people that actually played the game, like Zocker is one of those guys who loved that game from the beginning, he'll tell you, and he still plays it occasionally, it's not so different to the point where it deserved a 69. And the new one deserves, what is it, an 88, 89, something? I don't know. It's high 80s.
I think it's down to an 83 or something
83?
like that.
Okay. But regardless.
But still, it's an 80s game now instead of a 69, right?
Yeah, and he said that it was an 80s game to begin with when he first played
exactly.
it. So.
And this is, like, I just keep saying there's an Xbox tax. I'm sorry, but there is. And you just can't like deny it when you see people saying, "Oh, I played Hi-Fi Rush and liked it more on PlayStation, and therefore I gave it a good grade." Like, you're not even hiding it anymore, right?
How do you like
You're
it
not even
more
hiding it
because it's on?
like,
Well, maybe because it's on their platform of choice, And
I don't care.
Look,
like,
that's fine, but the game is still the same. There's no difference. Yeah, I don't get that.
There was one reviewer for Hi-Fi Rush that gave it a negative review just because it was from Xbox.
I know.
Like, I mean, come
It's
on,
weird.
and they like outright said that, and I'm like, are you serious? You're not okay, whatever. So I just expect it, right? So I expect all these games will just get better reviews because they're on PlayStation, even though they're the same bloody game. So
yeah, we'll see what happens, but. I do think though that there is this stigma about Xbox games because it's been like so long since they had like a really big AAA compelling game. Like, and I think they need a blockbuster hit. They need it. They need it. Some people will say Starfield. I wouldn't even agree that Starfield is as big as it should have been. Unfortunately, and I think that it probably needed another year or so in the oven to have all these things that they're bringing out now. I think that
but I mean, a lot of that's from feedback, right? So fan feedback. They said, okay, we'll put these things in, cool. But maybe you're right. Maybe it could have used more. But like at some point, you have to release the game, so I get it.
Well, yeah, if from the business aspect, for me, it's just like, dude, I would wait. I would wait for better. Like I have no problems with doing that. I said that with Starfield, even on the last delay. I said, look, take your time. If you have to delay it again, so be it. I don't care. But again, it goes into the, the whole investor thing and the business side of things that I don't care about. I don't care about at all. But hey, they're more important than the gamer, obviously. That's just the way it seems with these companies at the end of the day. But yeah, Paramount It's being bought by Sony, and who's the other company going in with them?
Apollo. They haven't
Apollo.
been bought. So there's
They're looking at it.
negotiations going on with Skydance. And if those fall through, then Sony and Apollo will try to put in their bid of $26 billion.
Yeah.
So that is kind of what we have so far. There are some oddities in this, in that there's some tie to CBS that isn't like, they're not fully like, they don't own CBS, but there's some tie to CBS, and they have some CBS stations, which they can't buy because Sony is not a US company. So they can't have one of the major networks. So they'll have to, sell those somewhere else or move them somewhere else or something like that. I don't know. They'll have to work through that.
Well, is
But
that really a thing that they can't buy an American
yeah,
company, or is
no,
it?
they can't buy any of the major networks:
Oh,
ABC,
okay,
CBS,
gotcha,
NBC,
gotcha.
or Fox. Those cannot be owned by a foreign entity.
Mm,
So, but outside of that, Paramount, they could buy them absolutely 100%. They already did with like, they
yeah,
have
yeah,
Columbia TriStar, right? So they bought that. There's no issues with that. You can absolutely buy those, but it's just you can't own one of the major networks, or any part of the major networks. And they do have some CBS stations, and they have some CBS content, right? So I don't know if the content matters. I think it's they can't own the broadcast companies themselves, so they'd have to work that piece out. Not a big deal, I suppose, but they'd have to involve another party to figure that piece out. I don't know what this gets them, because Paramount's failing, right? So if Paramount was, making money, that would make sense. It would make them, they're like 12-ish% Sony, and like 6-7% of the market is Paramount. It would get them in that 20-ish% range. Disney is 25. They're the biggest. Uh, Fox merging with Disney was kind of irked people on both sides of the aisle, like as far as the politics of it. Uh, so I don't know that this will just go through. It's a pretty big deal to make another 20%er. Um, you would say, hey, that just competes with Disney, sure, but it does consolidate a lot. So I don't know what the politics of this is going to be. Right after the Disney Fox one, they might say, yeah, we don't like this idea. Right. And this is the regulators. I'm just thinking about where the
yeah, yeah,
regulators' head's going to be, as far as like, is this just going to go through? Skydance wouldn't have been a problem. But having a 12% and a 7% merge and make a near 20% market, it's not a lot. It's, in technicality, it's not a monopoly or anything. It's just a lot of consolidation. You have two companies that basically are half of all media, with Disney and Sony. And will they like that? I don't know. Maybe they'll be okay with it. I don't know. Right. But we'll have to see what the regulators think.
yeah.
Right. So
Well,
it's an interesting move, and I just don't understand what Sony gets out of it, right? Because like, they're like, Paramount's failing. Like, are they thinking they're gonna just clean house and use the IPs and
yeah,
bring them
that's what
over
I'm
to their own
wondering, because they do
studios?
have a lot
Like,
of IP. Lot.
yeah, that's all I can think of. And maybe they take Paramount Plus and make it into their own streaming service for all their media, but they have Crunchyroll. They could just do that with that. It's
Ew.
it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are that make it make sense. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. It's just an odd
What?
thing. It's also interesting they're not investing in gaming, right? And
Yeah,
you'd say, okay, well, does that mean they're kind of going to pull back on that and say, hey, we need to make that profitable before we decide to do anything with it? Because we're not going after Microsoft as far as the bank. We're not going to go, spend $70 billion. They don't have $70 billion, right? But we're not going to go toe to toe with them as far as acquiring these big publishers or something like that. But instead, we're going to focus on this. I don't know. It's an all interesting stuff from a corporate perspective. But I'm trying to keep it to gaming, and it
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind
I
of,
know, I know, and it's hard
like,
to, because it's really the movie business that they're
yeah.
acquiring
I
there.
mean, what do you think about this?
It doesn't. There's nothing about this that I really.
Care about?
I'm not like. I rarely watch a movie these days. Like I'm ashamed to. No, I'm not ashamed to say it. I hardly watch TV and film anymore. And it's not because oh, you know, everything's this or that woke or whatever. Honestly, it's just that I don't care to.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
where I
just
am at.
I'm at the point
I'd
in my
rather play
life
something.
where I watch more YouTube than anything. I watch a lot of YouTube, guys,
Yeah,
like
that's what I end up doing.
incessantly, and my wife gets annoyed by it. But I'm like, I learn so much off of other people and their creative content on YouTube, and it's not even just like gaming and stuff like that. I watch people detailing cars. I watch people working on cars. I watch people freaking doing things that skydiving and stuff that I probably would never do. But I watch it and I learn and I sit back and I observe these things and I go, this is incredible to have content that's fed to me by just people like you and me, Hargeet. I find them more fascinating than celebrities. I just do. I think people are just cool. Like there's some cool ass people out there, and they do some cool ass stuff. You can quote me on that. But yeah, so like with the television movies, a lot of times, here's one of the reasons why I hate a lot of movies. They're just recycled. They just remake movies over and over. I mean, they remade Don't Tell Mom the Babysitters is Dead or whatever recently. And I'm like, why? That movie sucked anyway, in my opinion. But they just remake movies. I heard they're remaking Uncle Buck from back in the 80s, you know, from John Candy and stuff. Like a lot of people probably don't know who that is, but he was a great comedic actor. But they just remake stuff all the time, and I don't care for it. Even the ones that aren't remade, it seems like I've watched this movie before. If I watch something, I'm like, this seems a lot like that movie that I just watched. Like they're always copying off each other. Like get something new, Hollywood. And the occasional movie that I do watch, you know, like I get like that. I'm like, I've seen this before. It feels like I have. But yeah, I watched the Fallout TV show and I did love that. That was a great show. So just it just depends on my what I like. And these days, not much in the movie scene. I do think the new Deadpool movie with Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine looks quite fun. So that movie looks fun.
Could be.
It could be really fun. I like Deadpool. A fun movie. Anyways, let's talk about the last topic here, which is HellBlade 2 marketing. It's about to happen. Hargeet, tell us about this marketing that is coming up very soon.
I don't have the thing in front of me, but if I remember right, Aaron talked about doing full global marketing, media marketing, putting it in theaters, right? So the ads that come up before you watch your movie, right? There's going to be some brand partnerships, you know, things like that, right? So there's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 bullets that they had. I'm like, cool, they're actually like doing real marketing. This is gonna be interesting. Like we'll see what it does for the game. I don't expect them to spend too much, because the game's budget wasn't that high. So but the fact that they're even doing that sounds
I'm
really
glad
cool.
they're marketing. I do, you know, in one respect, I'm like, I think that they should start marketing earlier, but I don't want them to spend too much at the same time, if that makes sense. Because these days you don't need much marketing. It seems like if you make a good game, people will buy. And that's pretty much what's been happening. Because you have a lot of streamers, you have influencers and stuff nowadays. Like me, I watch more influencers than I do celebrities. So I'm watching these people on YouTube and stuff, and even on Twitch, and I'm like, oh, that game looks pretty cool. Let me try it. So that's marketing right there as well. So I don't have a big hang up on marketing these days. I used to argue about this a lot for Xbox, especially like, I mean, even probably at the beginning of this year, I was like, they need to do more marketing. They need to do this. And now I'm kind of like stepping back going, really, do they really need it? Because I've played smaller games because of influencers and streamers that these games didn't have mass marketing, but word of mouth traveled. Hey, this game is good. And I played them and I'm like, holy crap, this game is awesome. And I noticed it wasn't just me. It was millions of others that bought this game too. So it just happens that way. You build it and they will come. Make a compelling game and they will come. That's what I'm saying. So
Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, right? But I don't know. We'll see, right? So I'm hoping they market Call of Duty correctly to bring that casual market, right? Because they're not, the casual gamer isn't going out of their way to find out what's happening in gaming, right? So they just know buy Call of Duty, right?
no, but
So
then how do you explain a game like Pal World?
um,
Massive success among casuals as well. How did they hear about it?
I
Word of
assume
mouth.
because Game Pass, right? Because Game Pass allowed it to get bigger, and then it made its way over to Steam. Steam players got to play a lot more of it, right? And it just kind of blew
I
up
don't
from there.
I don't think it was really Game Pass. I honestly think that it was just a lot of word of mouth. And I think
Mm,
streamers are huge to casual gamers, even because you got to remember there's a big casual gamer market out there that watch people play games. They watch them play games. And I'm like, okay, I'm not personally a fan of just watching somebody play a game. I'd rather them teach me something about a game or whatever, but or show me what I can't figure out in a game. But I'm not going to sit there and watch them play 2 hours of a game, 3 hours a game. But there's a lot of kids that do that. There's a lot of
yeah,
teenagers that do that, adults that do that.
yeah.
So
Maybe I don't know. I don't know if that's how it got bigger or whatever. But
yeah,
I mean,
Game Pass helps. Don't get me wrong. Game Pass helps, especially among Xbox, the community. A few people are playing that game or whatever, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is incredible!" And they start talking about it on podcasts, travels, word of mouth. It's just you don't need this big marketing thing. That's why I kind of laugh at what like Rockstar spends on marketing for GTA 6 or GTA 5. It's like you guys don't even need to market it. All you guys just drop it, and that game is going to sell like gangbusters. There's no need to market that game, but they will. They'll put a big old campaign out there, and man, are they going to make their money back? Because I guess they don't care. They're going to make it back that first freaking day. I think that game. Oh my god, I can't wait for that game.
yeah.
I can't think about it right now because
It's
it's too
a
long from
year
now.
away.
It's a year away, people. A year away. Can't wait for it. But I'm glad that Hellblade 2 is having marketing coming soon. Hopefully, it's something that I will be able to get into. I did not like the first one. It was just a me thing. I just didn't care for the puzzles and the combat. Um, it was kind of weak. There wasn't much of it too. So I stopped playing it. I couldn't even finish it. I know you, Hargeet,
I did
you
finish
finished
it,
it.
but I'm with you.
Yeah,
It was okay.
yeah. So I'm hoping it's a bit better. I will try it day one, of course. It's in Game Pass. Why not? I'm not going to sit there and say I'm not playing it. No, I'm definitely going to try it day one. I'm interested in seeing what it's about, and if it hooks me, it hooks me, and I'll finish it. I heard it's only 6 to 8 hours, so it's not bad. So we will see. But anyways, Hargeet, it's been a great show today, and
Yeah.
the chat was amazing today. We had over 200 people watching live. I appreciate you.
Nice.
Seriously, so good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to Lotus again for the 5 gifted members. Thank you, Dante, for your super chat also, as well as, Pragmatic Eagle. Thank you very much for yours as well. And the membership chats, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you who are subscribed. I appreciate all of you who just join in, even if you're not subscribed and you're here watching, even if you hit that dislike button, it's fine. I get it. Some people ain't going to like the show. I still appreciate everybody who comes to this show. Appreciate you. Hargeet, let everybody know where they can find you next.
Well, next will be Boom's podcast, so it'll be Double Barrel Gaming.
Oh, you're not double backing
Wednesday.
today. So you're not
What was
going
that?
to,
I know
you're
I'm
not
not
double
doing another
backing
one.
today, right? You're not going to Web Dave.
Web Dave or anything. No. So
Okay. Get a break.
So yeah, no, it's just Wednesday at 7 p.m. US Eastern time on Double Barrel Gaming. Primetime Gaming is the podcast, and then C Money and Doodle. It's On Point for Gamers on Friday, night shift, 6 p.m. US Eastern time. And we'll be back here on Sunday.
GTL for sure. And you guys can see me Wednesdays on This Mysterious World. the podcast I had started. I had a great guest. If you have not heard it last week, I had a paranormal investigator who's been doing it for almost 30 years. I interviewed him on the show, and it was kind of spooky. Some people had wrote me and said that they were a bit spooked listening to that. Even Colt was like, man, that stuff was creepy. It was good, though. We had a good time. And I will be back this Wednesday doing that again at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anyways, guys, I want to thank everybody for watching the show live and everybody listening on demand. Until next time, game on.